welcome back to Pause to 3, the podcast that fearlessly explores the dark, heavy, and hard to talk about aspects of life. I'm your host, Jennifer, also known as the purple and gray-haired Nana of the internet, and I'm here to guide you on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Just want to mention I am not a professional. I am simply a human who is sharing her stories on this roller coaster journey of life with the hopes that my stories will inspire others to be just a bit more kind, a bit more gentle on themselves as they navigate the ups and downs of life. Life can be messy, challenging, and downright difficult at times. But here at Pause 2-3, I believe that it's in those moments of struggle that we find our true selves. Through honest conversations, introspection, and a sprinkle of humor, we'll navigate the twists and turns of life together. This podcast is for those of you who are tired of surface-level conversations and crave something deeper. We'll dive headfirst into topics like mental health, self-doubt, relationships, and everything in between. No topic is too taboo to be explored because I believe that by shining a light on the dark and heavy parts of life, we can find the strength to overcome them and also help others find their own strength. But Pause 2-3 isn't just about dwelling on the negatives. It's about finding the silver linings, the lessons and the growth that come from facing life's challenges head on. We'll share stories of resilience, triumph, and personal transformation to inspire you on your own journey. Whether you're listening during your morning commute, on a solo walk, or curled up with a cup of tea, Pause 2-3 is your companion in navigating the complexities of life. Each episode will leave you feeling empowered, motivated, and ready to take on whatever comes your way. So join me here at Pause 2-3 as we uncover the hidden gems within life's darkest moments. Together, we'll embrace vulnerability, find our true selves, and live our best lives ever. So get ready to hit pause, dive deep, and emerge stronger than ever before. Welcome to Pause 2-3, where I explore the darkness to discover the extraordinary.
Hello, friends. It is Jennifer from Pause 2-3, the purple and gray-haired Nana, coming at you with a very, very special guest on my podcast today. This is a fellow female veteran who I have served with many eons ago, and we recently reconnected thanks to a fabulous Facebook group that Caroline has brought to life. It's called Sisters in Courage, Military Women Support Network. And I love her idea. She is very much like myself of helping people have a voice, helping people feel they aren't alone. And we just reconnected and the conversation led to this. And I'm going to bring Caroline on now. I have some interview questions that I'd sent her, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Pause 2-3's podcast. And let's jump right into Caroline. Caroline, how are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me today.
It is a pleasure. I will have to tell you, this is my first actual interview. So fingers crossed everything goes well and we're going to have a lot of fun. So Caroline, why don't you tell us a little tiny bit about yourself, and then we will, or is there anything you want to add that I haven't said before we get into the questions?
No. I think you did a really good job so far.
All right. So the first question I wanted my future guests to share, I'm really curious. Tell me what your morning routine is like in 2 minutes or less.
It'll probably be a lot less than 2 minutes. But my alarm goes off at 4:45 in the morning because I'm still a working girl. I brush my teeth. I let my dogs out. I feed my cats. Then I let my dogs in and I feed my dogs. And then I grab a coffee because coffee is life. And I have a bit of breakfast.
But coffee first?
course, always. Shower and I get ready for work. I put the dogs in their safe area with water, a blanket, and a little treat. And then I put my lunch in my bag and coat on, and off I go out the door by between 6 and 6:15. And that's pretty much my week. And then the weekends are less routine-y. I get up when I want to.
Nice.
But coffee is always first.
Coffee is always there. Wow, so that's amazing. So you are out the door when most of us are probably just opening our eyes or still dead in sleep. And I love that. So thanks for sharing that. I'm just, I just kind of feel it's kind of a nice little icebreaker for people to kind of first of all get used to talking and just give a little bit of background about what a day in the life of Caroline is like. So let's jump in to the good stuff. So I focus my podcasts and everything I do on mental health, helping people break free from the mental health battles, helping them find their inner strength and know that they can conquer any challenges that they face. So share a little bit with the audience of how you got to where you are in your life today.
Okay, well, I served 28 years in the military as a material manager is what they call them now, but they were called supply techs back then.
Back in the good old days.
Yeah, those years, some good, some bad, but I mean, it's the military. There's trauma in there always. I sweep it under the rug now because unfortunately my rock is gone, and that was my husband. He passed away. I'll explain. Okay. I moved to Kingston, Ontario after I got out of the military in 2012. It was my husband's posting in 2016. I got a job and I enjoyed two more wonderful years with my husband until he passed away suddenly while he was at work and he was still serving. August of 2018. Since then, there was a lot of trauma between the time he passed and then the time I decided to move away from Kingston again. And I moved to Nova Scotia to reset. And it was on my oldest daughter's recommendation in the spring of 2020. I moved during COVID.
Wow.
So, yeah, I went through from Ontario, drove with my dogs from Ontario all the way to Nova Scotia, going through border patrol. All the provinces.
Amazing.
Yeah. And well, she was worried about me, and rightly so, because I'm far better off now. So I took a few years off while I was here, and then I had a little small contract job, approximately a year, I guess, or maybe 6 months to a year. And then in 2023, after I went to Europe with a friend of mine, I decided that, when I was in Europe, it really opened my eyes to new things. Like I was always staying in my house all the time. And I was always, what was me and what am I going to do with my life and all that. So when I went to Europe, I realized that there was so much more out there to experience than what I had already experienced. So I decided to get another job. So I started a new job in, I guess, just after I came back from Europe. And so now I have a new job in Halifax.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot. First of all, thank you so much for sharing and being real, being truthful, being vulnerable. And definitely sorry to hear about your husband passing away.
Thank you.
And I think just even in this little bit that you've shared, there's so many little points that you've picked on that so many listeners and so many people are going to pick up on and say, oh my gosh, that really resonates with me. You've had trauma, you've had change, you've had heartbreak, you've had grief. And you've also had support from your daughter, from the community, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that you took the plunge and you took a trip to Europe and you got out of your comfort zone and sharing that part of the story and seeing that there is so much life out there that I think a lot of us who have dealt with trauma and who kind of um, get stuck in our own head, be it simply from COVID or be it from, other things that keep us locked and trapped in our house. And you've touched on so many of those things, and I think it's just wonderful and powerful for you to share and for others to hear that they're not alone in some of these struggles. So, having said that, let's again, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being the first guest. Um, let's talk a little bit more about, because mental health is such a broad term, and I think a lot of times these days it's just kind of used really freely, and not everybody has the same meaning. So, can you take a few minutes and just, or a few words, and share with us what mental health means to you?
That is a really good question because I mean, it's all around us. Everyone experiences some kind of trauma in their life. Everyone. But what it means to me is to ensure that I'm just okay, just being, like living. Once I start not feeling comfortable, I'll reach out to my friends or my family and even colleagues to talk to them. The people that I trust, anyways. Mostly, of course, it's old military friends, and I do that because the comfort zone is there, and I know that they probably have gone through something similar to myself, so I always reach out to them. It depends on the subject that I'm experiencing. Then I'll start feeling comfortable again, and sometimes it's tough to just be because of the ups and downs that happen. But I make it work, and that's how I deal with it.
Fabulous. You touched on the subject of trust and like-mindedness, and I really think that that is so so important as we begin to accept who we are, and to, just like you say, to just be okay to just be who you as Caroline are, and who I am as Jen. And a lot of times, I think a lot of people find themselves surrounded by people who they feel are their friends, but if there's no like-mindedness, if there's no similarities, it's sometimes hard to feel okay because we're feeling like we don't fit in, like these aren't our people. And if that's all we see, right? And if that's all we see, then we start to internalize and think, okay, well, I have to be like them. I have to do this. And we learn these behaviors from a child, So hearing people talk about finding like-minded people and trusting and being okay with who you are, um, there's a lot of steps involved in that. But I love the fact that you mentioned that you reach out to friends, family, colleagues. Reaching out, and a lot of times when we can voice our words, vocalize what we're feeling. I found in my own journey, again, I'm not a professional, and I should have mentioned that in the first place. I'm not a professional by any way, shape, or form, but I truly feel that, just as you said, like-minded people sharing their stories gives us our own inner strength and helps us see ourselves in a less dark light.
Absolutely, because they may be going through the same thing that you are, or they've experienced the same thing that you are, and maybe they have an insight into how to help you, or to maybe help you look at things in a different way, so it'll make you feel comfortable again. I say comfortable because that's how I see it, but someone else might see it a different way.
Exactly. And that's another point right there that you brought up that is really, really has given me the driving force when I start to question what I'm doing, when I start to question why I'm speaking out. I truly think that my words and my voice are, somebody out there is waiting to hear the way I say it and in my voice. And that's exactly what you said. You use the word comfortable. So you and I could be saying the same thing and speaking to the same person, and they have no idea. They have no connection with me, but the words you're using, your tone, your being, they resonate with you. So that's why I feel it's so important that everybody that has a story to share has the ability to share their story, because somebody out there is waiting to hear your words. And
absolutely. And I actually just learned that recently. If you mind, I'll just tell a little tiny story.
I would love it.
Okay, so there was this event that was happening in Ottawa recently, and one of the members reached out to me, and I was wrong in saying, well, maybe you shouldn't be so lengthy and, shorten what you say and all this stuff. But then in retrospect, and I started thinking, well, maybe they should have, maybe I shouldn't be saying those things because they have a need to voice their opinion. And who am I to shut them down? Maybe there's somebody out there that can, that it would resonate with.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily myself. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So I was wrong in saying that. And I recently just apologized to her. And I said, listen, I am sorry. I didn't mean to be, that way. However, go ahead, please, just, maybe put a warning or something above that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, in hindsight, it was a lessons learned on how I would communicate my thoughts, and that my opinions shouldn't matter in other people's stories. Do you know what I mean?
Your opinions shouldn't matter in other people's stories. That's huge.
Right.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's not my story to tell. It's their story to tell. So it's up to the listener to their story, or the reader to their story, to see how it resonates with them. It's not up to me, right? So that was just a lessons learned in my area of non-expertise.
And that, I think, is fabulous, because I think a lot of us kind of get lost in that, whereas if it's not making sense to us, we try to correct the person rather than taking a step back and saying, okay, you know what, hold on a minute. All of your story doesn't resonate with me, but that's okay, because you have a story to share. And I know somebody out there is going to need your words. So I'm just going to take it, what works for me, and let go of what doesn't. I love that this got brought up and that we had the opportunity to travel down this road, because that's one of the key points I think that a lot of us struggle with in life, is thinking that everything is directed specifically at us. And if it doesn't work for us, it's wrong. As opposed to saying, hey, you know what? I value, thank you for sharing your story. I admire your courage, and I know that that's going to help somebody. That's fabulous. And I'm really thankful that you brought this up, and that this came into this interview, because that is crucial, and that's a learning point. And that's the other thing.
It's huge. It also tells you that mental health means something different to everyone. It's not just one thing, right? It's not a structured thing. It's like, for example, when my husband died, I grieved in a different way than other people would grieve, right? So mental health is the same way.
Absolutely. And for us to realize as humans, and especially if we're empathic humans who want to help people, and we're highly sensitive people, we tend to take in a lot of stuff that we don't have to. And by learning that we don't have to take everything in, and that we can just sit back and let people have their emotions, and don't hold them, let people have their stories to share, and just take what works and leave what doesn't, is a huge lesson.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now that we've covered that, and we've talked a little bit about the hodgepodge and the simmering pot of mental health that's different for everybody, we always have challenges in life. And I'm curious to know, what is your biggest challenge I'm going to say, in your role right now? And I know we don't want to talk a whole lot about your Facebook group and that, but just kind of in general, maybe either with life or with the group and what you're trying to do. What is your biggest challenge in your role right now?
Well, trying to stop trying to fix everything. It's a real worry for me sometimes, when it's like I see somebody struggling and I try and fix it and I can't. And then it bothers me even more, because I try and make people feel better. especially my kids, I try and get them feeling better when they're adults, and they should be able to do that all on their own. But I know I can't control that. But as a mom, I'll always worry about them, whatever they're going through. So
Yeah,
that's my biggest challenge.
definitely. And I love how you worded that, trying to stop fixing everything. And I think a lot of people can really resonate with that, and that really hits home because you see something broken, you want to fix it. And I'm actually going through this on in my own life right now with a friendship that, it's a friendship that's been in my life for many, many years. And this
Mhm.
person always jumps in and tries to fix. And we don't need to be fixed when we're in situations. And when we're somebody that likes to fix, we need to stop ourselves and say, okay, wait a minute, this is not mine to fix. This person came to me. I'm going to listen and I'm going to ask them what they need,
Huh.
and that is a huge challenge. And I love that you brought that up. And then especially as a mom, as a parent,
Mhm.
and again, bringing in the empath side and the highly sensitive side is a lot of times the best solution is not fixing it, is just simply giving that person an ear, letting them know that somebody cares about them, somebody's here. And a lot of times that's what people need, is just to simply know that they are being heard and that they have the support, not that somebody's
Oh,
going to try.
absolutely. And I'm not saying that I was the best mom when my girls were growing up. I'm telling you, I was not. It's just, you worry about your kids, and you worry about exactly that, trying to fix things, and you just can't. And sometimes you just have to say, okay, they wouldn't listen to me anyway at this point in life. you know, uh, I just got to step back and say, oh, you know what, you're an adult, and you can try and do things. I'll step in when I can see that something is horribly wrong.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you have to give them I guess the string, the rope to let them go
Let
and do
them,
their own thing.
yeah. And I want to challenge you on something that you have said, because I say it too, and I've said it for years. And in the past 6 months, this is just new for me. I've stopped
Mhm.
saying I wasn't the best mom. I've stopped saying that I could have done
Oh,
better. And I switch it and say, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. And
that's a good one.
when I
Yeah.
know differently, I will do differently. Um, and that's and it's parents and moms and stuff. We are so hard on ourselves, and dads too, not just moms. Anybody that's in a
Yeah.
caregiver type role, we're so hard on ourselves and we beat ourselves up. And all that's doing is putting us back down into a dark place. It's showing our kids that we have no faith in ourselves, rather than saying, you know what, guys, I'm your mom. I put you on this earth and I'm doing the best I can with what I have. And I
Yeah.
see now how I could have done things differently, but I didn't. So here I am now, trying to be the best
And,
person I can and be here to support you.
exactly. And I mean, my girls know that they know that they have the love of me. I know that they love me back. I have a couple of grandsons, and I love them to bits. And I just, I haven't met one of them because the one lives in Ontario and everything. But yeah, I just, time goes on,
It does.
and they become moms, and
Yeah,
it's just, it's a cycle,
it
the
is.
circle of life.
Yeah, and it's
Cue the
a
Lion King.
yeah, and it's an ever evolving, constantly transforming, constantly letting go of
Yeah.
what doesn't work for us and moving forward. So that kind of leads us into the next question I have, which I think we've kind of touched a little bit, but how are you tackling those challenges? What do you do for yourself that helps you tackle these challenges?
Oh my goodness. It's difficult, but I have to tell myself no. I have to. I do tend to buy things for people,
Yes.
to help them and to help them hopefully feel better. Or I give my stuff away
Oh my
to make
goodness.
people feel better. I know.
You are living my life. Keep talking.
Like, what do you got?
Let it out so that you can keep talking and get more strength to be you in a healthy way.
So I want to be kind, but I'm an introverted, socially awkward person, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, for those of us that feel the same way, it certainly does. So keep going.
Yeah. So it's how I show I care. I just buy things. I mean, I've done that to my colleagues at work. I'll just buy something. Oh, this person will like this, and I'll bring it to work and I'll give it to them, and they'll be like, "Why are you giving me this?" Well, you mentioned it last week, and I thought you might like it. You know, like I'm
Yeah.
a little touched that way. Like I said, silly but true. Most people, that had an excessive amount of time. Wait.
Oh, in the military. Yeah.
Yes, time served. Yes, yes, time served. Aren't we all a bit socially awkward?
We are definitely.
If we're not around our own kind.
Yes.
You know,
definitely a different breed, and I think that comes back to like the community and finding the right people, finding your tribe, finding like-minded people.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And I always thought that maybe I'm a little weird, and yeah, you know what? Maybe I am. But I mean, I like my kind of weird.
Yeah, and you're kind of weird. You're on this earth, in this universe where you are right now because somebody knew, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, knew that the world needed that type of weird. I call it unique, you call it weird. And it's really interesting that you say this, because this is, I think, for a lot of people, it's a balance that we're trying to find, right? So when you're giving things to people, and for those of us that are givers, because I was the same way, still I'm like you, trying not to be, but
yeah,
we know how it feels to be unloved, unappreciated, unnoticed, on whatever that is that we know. So we want to give back to other people. But I think a lot of times we lose that balance and we forget about ourselves. And that's where it all comes back to, is finding that balance. And I think that's exactly what you're getting at, is trying to tell yourself no and find a balance of, is Caroline's needs being met first before I try and meet other people's needs.
See, and that is what is the most difficult part. Thinking about me instead of them.
Absolutely. And that I think I'm a strong believer that comes from years of learned behavior that we feel is ourselves, but really it's not. It's the way that society, our environments, our experiences have molded us. And when we begin to look internally at, when you begin to say no, that's you saying, hold on a second, this isn't really feeling right for me. And that takes time to learn how to, especially when, we're not spring chickens. We've been around for a couple of years. We've had lots of experiences that have molded us. It's really important. And by hearing people's stories, and by sharing that other people are struggling, and by hearing, what people are doing to get through these things, and working at saying no, putting ourselves first, building our self-confidence, understanding that because we describe ourselves as weird or unique, that's not something to be shameful of. That's something to be damn proud of.
That is true. That is true.
So we've discovered, or we've talked about a lot so far. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we go to my very last question for all of my upcoming guests? What else would you like to add?
Okay, so people have to understand that military members with mental health issues are not just from deployments, and they're not just male. Both exist, but women deploy alongside in the exact same roles. Women tend to be forgotten in the mix, and yet the experience is the same. Sometimes, due to being a woman, the issues are compounded. For example, sexual misconduct or misogyny. That will never go away unless it's explained while in recruit school, that it will not be tolerated, and that fines will be severe. That's what my opinion is. And
Right.
that would go for women that side-eye the men as well. I just don't think it's being addressed at all. And there's a lot of reports out there that are for the public benefit. So
Right.
kind of soften what's going on. And maybe a podcast for veterans, male and female, could be an idea to bring this and other things to the public once and for all. Just no names, just stories, so that the public can see what exactly is going on within the ranks, so to
Right.
speak. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and that's huge. And your thoughts are fabulous. And I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. And I appreciate you bringing to light the specific part at the end. We've talked about a lot of generics about people in general, life in general. And I really do love the fact that you brought up a non-talked about point, which is women are being dealt with differently right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
And that needs to change.
From this day on. And
Yeah.
I seen an article, I can't remember where it was, so I don't want to say this is fact, but it's an article where it says that I guess it was part of my work thing where they sent out like an email or whatever on International Women's Day. That was yesterday.
Right.
And they said that we have only just begun. It'll be a century before women are considered equal. And that's sad. That's sad.
It is very sad. But
going and
right. And I think just like you've said, and I love, love, love the idea of veterans having a platform, having a place to share their story. And again, not for pity, not for, that, but to share the reality and to share the struggles. Because if their stories are being told, somebody out there is going to reach them who's sitting in that same dark place. And that story that this veteran is sharing could be the light that person needs. And moving forward, I encourage anybody in general, not just, I'm going to make this a broad statement now, but anybody in general that is listening to this podcast and that feels that they have a story to share that is going to bring strength to other people, reach out, drop me a message, find me on Facebook. It's Pause23 is where you can find me. Let's get those stories out there, because Caroline, you are absolutely right. It's going to take centuries to change this. Let's make that a non-reality. Let's make the change now. Let's get those stories out there. Let's get people sharing their stories just as you have, just as I have, so that people know they're not alone. And that is the big story. And I love the way that this kind of brings all this together and kind of lets us end this story now with the invitation for others to step forward. So if you are a female veteran who would like more information on Caroline's Facebook group, I'm going to drop a link to that down below. And let's just keep giving people voices, and let's keep sharing stories just like Caroline has. Now, the last question that I have for all of my guests coming up is I want you, Caroline, to ask a question for the next guest to answer when I do their interview. So what question do you have for my next guest?
Okay, here it is. How do you manage your daily life in these difficult economic times?
Ooh, nice one. I like that. That's a thinker.
Yeah.
All right, so there it is. That'll be my question for my next guest. Hopefully that doesn't scare off my next guest. Maybe I should keep this part hidden from now on. This might be a learning point for me. All right, Caroline, before we finish up here, is there any last thoughts, points you want to say before we end this and get back to our Saturday?
I just want to thank you so much for giving me this platform. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. And Jen, you're doing an awesome job here, and I look forward to many more podcasts listening in on what you and your guests have in store for all of us.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Well, thank you for those words. That's one thing I'm working at, is learning to accept compliments. which is really damn hard, and I'm sure you can relate. So I appreciate those words. It really touches me in the heart. And yeah, there's lots more to come. So stay tuned, folks. Until next time.
As we say goodbye for now, I just want to take this time to thank you for sharing your time with me and taking some time for yourself to hopefully listen to these podcasts and gain some insight, and hopefully they're going to help you along this journey that you're living. So until next time, I wish you peace, I wish you kindness, I wish you happiness, and I wish you love. Now, if this podcast has been entertaining, beneficial for yourself, I encourage you to please share it. And if there's other people out there that you think who might benefit from my podcast and its vision, I please encourage you to share it as well. The best way we can do the best in our life is by sharing what we feel is good. So until next time, my friends, take care, be kind, sending lots of love. Bye for now.